Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's so great to see you, and I hope everyone had a wonderful Mother's Day and you loved on your mom, thought about your mom, or did something with the mom. I think that was great, and we just love you for doing that. So today we have our wonderful Public Safety Committee meeting for the month of May. Thank you. We have one consent item and 4 general agenda items. And I personally would like for the consent item to be read and presented.
Okay. Item C1, ordinance amending section 42-123C and E of the city code relating to the state highway system.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Reed Hutchins, Transportation Operations Manager. So this item's before you today, mainly as a request from NCDOT. So what's going on here is the road name change, mainly on the NCDOT side of things, from US 311 to the secondary route, which is, one second here. It would go replace US 311 with SR 4706 and then 4394. NCDOT approaches our office often for these name changes. Since it's maintained by them, that's why we see these. The speed limit does not change. New Walkertown Road does not go away. It's just that US 311 that we all know being replaced with that SR number 4706 and 4394.
And that number is just actually how the state refers to it. It still will be New Walkertown Road. And I wanted this pulled because those of us who've been here forever always say 311, Highway 311. We're so comfortable with that designation. And it's no longer going to be referred to as Highway 311 because...
So it's all interconnected with the Beltway.
Yeah.
So once the Beltway is built out, less traffic will be on 311 as we know it now, New Walkertown Road. So they're going to take that 311 away, assign the SR number, and then once the Beltway ultimately connects down to High Point and to the north up with 52, we're going to see that the 311 go away and those SR numbers come. Locally, I do think that people will still refer to it as 311, but the state will name it the SR 4706.
And this is a common activity that happens. And I just wanted to make sure people didn't think that we were changing New Walkertown Road. It will be that, but in the state and how they deal with our roads, it will have a different designation. Now, will we have to continue, will the state continue to maintain that state road?
Yes, that is correct. That is
Right.
correct.
So we don't have to pick up any more costs. It's just going to continue the way it always has been.
Yeah, there we go. Exactly.
Right, thank you. So, committee members, we need to vote on this change. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, make a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, second.
Thank you. All in favor, please vote.
Aye.
No, did it not come up?
Oh,
Okay, it's good.
It
Mine
came up
came
on
up, but it was a yes. Thank you very much. We now go to our first item on our general agenda.
Update on city-county partnership with Cure Violence Program.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sharita Sutton, and I serve as the Assistant Health Director with Administrative Oversight of the Cure Violence Community Violence Intervention Program. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on our efforts. So today I'm joined by 2 of our value program partners, Forsyth Winds, which is with Neighbors for Better Neighborhoods, and also our evaluation team from UNC Greensboro. We will also be sharing some insights into the impact and the progress of our work. But first, we will have our team from Forsyth Winds, Ms. Valenteri and Terrell, as well as Mr. McNair. Thank you.
Hello, how's everyone doing today?
Great.
All right, my name is Terrell Harris. I'm a VI, which stands for Violence Interrupter, from Forsyth Winds. We're currently working with a motto from an organization called Cure Violence. Sorry. Y'all got me nervous because y'all took away my slides. I can't get my slides, so I'm doing it on the web. But the whole purpose of our program has been to infiltrate from a cultural competency standpoint of the gun violence that goes on in the East Winston community, which we call the 222 beat. We work with a lot of participants who are heavily involved with gangs and gun violence. Some of them just came home. We have different ranges, age ranges, and different services and resources we deal with that we try to contact and connect these individuals to that are coming from our community. Currently, we have 28 participants, and over the last month, over the last 6 months, we've been able to secure maybe around 8 or 9 of them job positions. Some of them have went to school and different stuff. We've collaborated with a lot of organizations across the city like Goodwill, Parenting Path, Family Services, different organizations just to try to strengthen our network. We go off of referral processes, and we aim to ensure that each organization can effectively contribute to enhance different things just to make the community greater. You know, that's our main goal. And we've had a small stigma, a small reputation where, like, we don't deal with the police. That's 100% wrong. I work for another organization called TRJ, where I go into the schools and I get referrals from the juvenile justice system, and I have to work hand in hand with the SROs and different stuff like that. So we don't have anything against the, the police department or sheriff department. We just deal with individuals who come from backgrounds where they might not be comfortable. So we deal with them instead of letting the participants deal with them. But the main goal should be for all of us to come together and have community cookouts, or where our participants see the police and they're not threatened by them, and vice versa. That's our job, to try to bridge the gap. I'm very, very, very interested in this position, in this job, in this organization, because I'm a victim of gun violence. I lost both of my family to gun violence. This woman right here lost her son to gun violence. So we really see this as a way to turn the community around, to give them knowledge about us, to make sure that our youth is growing up, not having any type of stigmatisms towards the police department, because if they could see a person with a background like mine, I started off as one of them, going into Main Street. I really get along with these kids because I went to Main Street as a child. So I'm able to build with them, whereas a person who doesn't understand where they're coming from can't. You know what I mean? When guys come home from prison, they usually come see us, and we try to get them situated on a path where they don't slip back into that gap, because it's a small window. You know what I mean? So we really try to, bridge the gap, and I just want y'all to, take into consideration that this program is great. And you know what I mean? I grew up in East Winston, and I want the best for my community. I've opened multiple businesses. I could have took them to the mall. I could have took them anywhere. I put them right in my neighborhood. Cherry Street, 6th Street. I've always tried to be in the community because I was a victim of helping tear down that community, and I feel it's our job, to build it back up. Anything?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Velma Terry, but I'm called Miss Terry in the streets. I've been working with Cure Violence now for almost 3 years, and what Terrell was saying is that what Forsyth Wind does. Forsyth Wind stands for, Winston-Salem Intervention for Nonviolent Streets. And what we do is, we are exactly what it says. Winston-Salem Intervention for Nonviolent Streets. So we're taking these youth so they won't be in your house. You know what I'm saying? And we're taking them and we're providing services for them. And the majority of us have been working in the street for years. I've been working in the streets for 20 plus years. And like T.Y. said, I'm a victim of gun violence. My son, T.Y. Terry, was gunned down February 14th, 2021, over here by Coliseum. And so who better to advocate for gun violence is a mother who has lost her child. So what we do is we go into the community. Like he said, we have the 222B. We go into the community and we engage with the community. You know, we're boots on the ground, not with the fans. Okay, I just want to, you know. We are definitely boots on the ground. You know, we are going in places where nobody else wants to go. And these kids, these youth gravitate to us. They gravitate to us because we're one of them. We are one of them. My children were raised on the east side, the south side, the north side. You know, so I know about that. I'm not from here, but my heart is here. My heart is here with these youth. Getting them to put the guns down. Getting them to do something different. Getting them to find a new way of life, to change their thinking, So what better place to come and to plead to you all the not only positive, but the services that we need to help these youth. You know, our youth have been guided the wrong way. So you have some people who can understand them and put them on the right track. And so they come to us. They come knocking on the door at the office. You know what I'm saying? We love what we do. We love being boots on the ground. We love the services. And like T.Y. said, we have nothing against the police department. We have nothing against them. We just want our youth to understand that it's a unity in the community. You know what I'm saying? When you see something, say something. You know what I'm saying? Let's work together. Let's build the communities back up and stop tearing them down. So that's who we are. We are like the 2025 superheroes. Okay. That's what you're looking at. So I want to say thank you so much. And please just consider Forsyth Winds as the team in the streets that the students, that the youth really need. Thank you. Oh, excuse me, one more thing. On May the 16th, we are having a Mothers Loving on Mothers gun violence, I'm gonna say conference. If you guys wanna come, Curtis Friday will gladly send you guys an email out. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Delta Arts Center. Please come and get something to eat and hear some great speakers. Thank you.
Before you sit down, Terrell, are there any questions that any of our committee members would like to ask these amazing people? I believe you are known as the interrupters.
Yes.
Yes.
I am.
You're,
And Nathan.
And we have VIs, which are violence interrupters. We have a position called an OW, which is an outreach worker. Then we have the site supervisor, and we have the program manager, which is Curtis Friday. And we all play different roles, and we come together.
Yeah.
And let me say this last thing. I ask a lot of the kids, you know what I mean? Because most of them say, I don't mess with 12, right? So I said, you mess with them, if somebody's gunned down and bleeding in your arms, who are you gonna call? 911, right? I said, so why do you feel like you can only call them when it's to your benefit? You understand what I'm saying? I said, we have to get out of that stigmatism that the police are against us. The same vibe y'all give off to them, they feel it. So how are they supposed to act towards you? So I'm really here a lot to teach them they are not our enemy and we are not their enemy. You know what I mean? I have to reiterate that to them all the time because they look at the picture different. So I'm there to help them understand. These SROs are here to help you. If they take your vape pen in school, you ain't got to shoot up the school. You're not supposed to have a vape. You know what I mean? I just wanted to add that in.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you guys for being here. Mr. Harris and I have known each other a while, and I'm a big fan of what he does. So one of my biggest questions, two questions is, you mentioned your office. Where is your office located?
Is at the South Box, it's 1650 Ivy Avenue.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Sidewalks.
all right.
Next to the Krispy Kreme factory.
Yep. And then what would you say is your biggest barrier for success for this program?
Right now, I would say a lot of the action is happening outside of our beat. So we have a kind of restrictions to where we can serve outside of our beat. We find creative ways, like if a shooting happens, we go to the hospital and, respond and try to stop a retaliation, you know what I mean, when we can. But the program model is to stick to the beat, which is East Winston, but a lot of the action and participators come from outside of our beat. So that's a problem that we're facing right now.
Anybody else have a question? Mr. Harris,
Hey, Ms.
which it is different calling you Mr. Harris.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you for the work that you all do. Ms. Terry, thank you for the work that you do. Of course, I see a lot of what you do on social media and the outreach that you all do, and appreciate that with the community cookout. Wondering, Mr. Harris, if you could talk about any professional development or
Absolutely.
national conferences that you have attended?
Absolutely. Well, personally, I have a background in restorative justice, you know what I mean, and circle training and healing. So I'm able to provide that to the staff and the participants and participators, as well as we travel to violence interruption conferences down in Raleigh. We do self-care days, which is we might have a therapist come in and talk to the staff. Because that's very important, because we deal with a lot of shootings and gun violence victims, and we went down to the governor's mansion, to different conferences down that way, and we were able to go in these little breakout groups and get different outlooks from people all over the United States who do similar work, you know what I mean? And sometimes they're in places that are worse than ours, and sometimes, it's, our city might be worse than theirs, so we're able to bounce ideas and pick up stuff and bring it back to our program just to, kind of try to find the creative way to move and still move inside of our guidelines and budget, because that's another thing, you got to stay inside of the budget, you know what I mean, and watch how you spend the money, you know what I mean? We deal with a lot of families who are homeless, who are hungry, you know what I mean, and we don't have the funds to help them. But, we do sometimes have the services to refer them to. But we do a lot of trainings, for staff development. And we take field trips to different places, to different conferences, restorative justice and different stuff like that.
Could you all, any of you all, speak to maybe the hours that you work, considering that violence does not just occur, or someone who you're mentoring or coaching does not just have an incident with something happening from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. How would you all say that you all respond to that when people have your telephone numbers and they may need you after 5 p.m. or 6 p.m.?
Okay, so our hours of operation are from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. And the beauty of it is, as I spoke before, is that we have a relationship with the community. And like I said, some of us have been working in the community for years. So some of these youth that are now participators and participants, we once dealt with their parents. So if anything goes on in the community, they're calling us. They're calling us on the phone. And that's the connection that we have with the community. They trust us that much. And I see you guys do have our paperwork. And on some of those paperwork, you will see that we engage with Chris Paul's family. Thanksgiving time, we get turkey boxes and we deliver them to the community. Christmas time, we work with Rob Lang and his church, Free's Church, where we gather Christmas toys. Last year, we took about over 300 and something students to Agape Faith Church for, what is it? What is the Christmas? Tanglewood Festival of Lights. So we engage in that manner. We make sure that every child, we try to make sure that every participant's family members, are engaged in the program as well. We try not to leave anyone out.
And far as hours go, you know, for a lot of the people on staff, for me, it starts at 7 a.m. You know what I mean? To never getting my phone cut off because I'm inside of 10 different schools, also working with triative restorative justice. So I'm watching these kids in the lab. I might have them in school, and then I go to Rolling Hills and I see them. They're in Main Street with me, and then I see them in Cleveland. So, you know, it's really like I'm working with them more so 24/7 a lot of times. You know, I find myself, you know, adopting a lot of these kids. I find myself being a father figure and a big brother and spending a lot of my personal money because there's so many of them that lack. So this is a constant 24/7, you know what I mean? It really don't stop, but the hours are supposed to be from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. You know what I mean? So we're always on call though. And like I said, I'm in school all week long. You know what I mean? If I'm not in Main Street, I'm at North. If I'm not in North, I'm at Reynolds. If I'm not at Reynolds, I'm at Parkland. If I'm not at Parkland, I'm at Kernersville at Southeast. You know what I mean? And every school I go to, I deal with a list that are referrals from the SROs.
That was an issue that I had. I heard you say that you had 28 participants,
Yes, ma'am.
but then you've impacted over 300 in a single program. So are you recruiting young people who then commit to stick with you, or
So-
is it like a community? Because you see that child so many different places. They know you, and they know what you give to them. So you're making a difference, not just with a defined group of children who said yes. You're really impacting them, their peers, and others who see that difference. So it's a bigger impact than like 28 participants. But tell me about those 28. Who are they, and how do you define them as a participant?
You want to tell them how we define them? All right, well, certain ways we define them, it's a high risk. A lot of them have been involved with gun violence. It could be somebody that just came home from prison. What did you say? We have one participant named Midnight. He was fresh home, and we just got him a job. He's been doing great for how many months now?
He got out on September the 4th. He did 7 years.
Yeah, he did 7 years. We were able to get him with
Goodwill Positive Pathway.
Positive Pathways, and he's been working with them ever since. I have young men at RJ Reynolds. They've been getting on at the eateries and different places. You know, just by me being in their life, being proactive. I pay for a lot of haircuts. I wish I was a barber. You know what I mean? Haircuts are $50 now, $40 a piece. It's not like back in the days. So the resources are draining me, but I feel so fulfilled in this work, whereas before I was in the community selling alcohol and different stuff when I had the convenience stores. It's a whole different line, but we also have, what do you call them? Volunteers. We have volunteers. We do these community events. So we have a list, we get their emails, their names, we find people from the community who want to be volunteers. So when we throw the community cookouts in Rolling Hills or Cleveland or the Circle or places that most people don't want to go, the volunteers that come out and help us serve, help us deliver the turkeys, help us, you know, work with these youth. We also do stuff like sit down with the youth. We might have 15 kids that are from rival neighborhoods, and they might bust out in a fight in the middle of it, but I'll do a circle and bring them back together. Then we sitting down doing vision boards together. We've had some wild stuff happen, you know, in the midst of our area, but we call it a no spin zone. You know, when you come in here, we don't play that gang, no gang sign throwing, none of that around us. So really, it's our volunteers, our staff, and, you know, we just come together, and then some of the older, you know, participants help us with the younger ones.
What's the age span you're serving?
Right now, it started at, before it was, might have been like 15 to 30 something, but we understood that the 11 and 12-year-olds are the ones carrying the big guns. So the model dropped down to like 12-year-olds. So, you know, when we get referrals, we go deal with the younger ones as well. So it's really between 12 to 30. But we also help guys who are older, we just can't get the data for it. We get them jobs, we get them placements, but we can't write it down because it's not in our model. No.
But somebody's keeping track of that, even though it's not
yeah,
in the
we
model.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yes, we are.
'Cause
Yes,
that's-
ma'am.
That's important to know.
Yes, yes, we are.
Are there any other?
I have one final question. Ms. Terry, the event that you talked about on May 16th with
Yes.
Mothers Loving on Mothers, just for clarity, is that something for mothers who have maybe lost children due to senseless gun
To gun
violence?
violence, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And so we take that day to just love on them and let them know that they are not left out, that they are not left behind, and you can always come to us. So we do have mothers who do come to the center, I was going to say the teens, to the center, to the South Box, and come and talk to us. So that's a beauty, you know what I'm saying? Because they have nowhere else to go, where they believe they don't have anywhere else to go. And who better understands them than another mother who's lost a child to gun violence?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is someone going to do more of the presentation that we received? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
We are the evaluators, so we're not the boots on the ground, but we have been privileged to learn more about this program that's being implemented in the city of Winston-Salem, the successes, but also things to think about as moving forward in terms of sustainability. My name is Dr. Erica Payton. I am an associate professor at UNC Greensboro and also one of the evaluators on this team. This is my colleague, Dr. Marika Visser, and she is also a part of the evaluation team. We're half of that today. I'm glad that you all have our slides. We're going to truncate that to make sure that we meet time by just going over the highlights. I did just want to add to what the fabulous team Foresight Win said in terms of the eligibility criteria for the 28 participants. So Foresight Wins is the local cure violence program that's been implemented globally. And so at the cure violence level, they have requirements where they collect data on all of the intervention sites here internationally and also domestically. So they have criteria that's set out. I'm happy to share, that's not in our presentation, but I can add that. There's set criteria that's a requirement to be eligible to be a participant. Some of that is age, of course, also being a resident within the target neighborhood. And then there are several risk factors. They have to identify with at least one of those risk factors to be considered a participant. Now, because the model also says community outreach and partnership is a huge component of this model because we want to see consistency and change, and we want to change the overall cultural norms around violence. So that's why community outreach is so important, and Ms. Velma's work is so important, because that's also reaching out to folks who aren't necessarily enrolled in the program, but definitely benefit from the program. So before I got into our kind of canned presentation, I just wanted to elevate those points as well. So you have the overview in front of you. What we're really going to focus with the time that we have today is mostly around the methodology of the evaluation work, and we'll talk a little bit about the impact portion of the evaluation as well. Will somebody be able, can I advance for myself? All righty. Let me know if I know how to use it. Okay, we can turn it on.
Between two PhDs.
How do you turn, you know how to turn it on? Maybe it's, anyone can, if I.
You can advance them.
There we go. There you go. You're good.
Okie dokie. Oh, did you get it?
Yeah, it works.
All right. Let's see where we were. Okay, so UNCG was contracted to evaluate for both the implementation of Foresight Wins and also the impact of the overall program. So we are looking at it from two different angles. One, in terms of implementation, we want to know how well was this model or how well was this version of the Cure Violence model implemented. So we're looking at the fidelity of it. So the fidelity is around, did you implement this program the way that Cure Violence Global says you should implement it to have the most success? We also want to then look at the impact of the overall program. So the guiding questions for that is really around, do we see a reduction in, well, first, these are the evaluation questions for the implementation, just so you can take a look at that. Right, but really looking at the fidelity of the program. And then when we're looking at impact questions, this is all around, do we see a reduction in violence? Do we see a reduction from the perspective of community residents? Do we see a reduction from the perspective of stakeholders? So not folks who are, may not have been directly impacted by violence themselves, but definitely live in the community and are part of the community. Also, one of the things that we really want to look at too, with some of the things that the violence interrupters and managers just talked about, is what changes are happening in the community that promotes a safe and healthy community. So have there been more opportunities for jobs, for example, something that would encourage folks to not resort to violence because they have other options and resources in their community. So that was another area that we're looking at in terms of impact. What you have in front of you now is a map of Foresight Wind that breaks down all of the police districts as well as the beats. At the very beginning stages, so the planning for and getting geared up for Cure Violence to come here, crime data was used to identify all of the hot, violent crime spots across Forsyth County. And at that time, Police Beat 222 was the area selected to implement what we call here locally Foresight Winds. So the impact portion of the evaluation is quasi-experimental. So what does that mean? Basically, we have the target neighborhood, which is Police Beat 222. We also, though, wanted to have a comparison neighborhood. So that's a neighborhood that has not implemented the Cure Violence model to see, to be able to compare and look at changes as it relates to our guiding evaluation questions. So we were able to identify the comparison neighborhood by looking at specific key characteristics between both the target neighborhood and the comparison neighborhood. And so I do want to take some time to break that down just a little bit more by looking at this chart in front of you here. So again, including that controlled neighborhood, it was a very important component of the design. The purpose is for us to compare changes in the areas that did not receive the Foresight Wind intervention with those that did. So we took local data to analyze and determine baseline levels of trends of community violence for the time frame for the Foresight Winds Cure Violence programming. So quickly, if we just look at this table, it includes some of those key characteristics for the two study neighborhoods, which is Police Beat 222 and then Track 400. You'll see that there are similarities as it relates to residential population. Racial profiles were also fairly similar, as well as there was a similar age distribution for those between the ages of 18 and 64. And also when we look at poverty within the median household incomes, there was also some fair consistency there, as well as even looking at the components of who lives there, renters versus households, for example, and those who live in public housing sites. Something also of great importance is looking at the crime and comparing that as well. And so although crime levels are higher in Police Beat 222, which is appropriate, that's why this is the target neighborhood, there was still a significant presence of violent crime and crime involving weapons in Track 400. So based upon looking at these different key characteristics, we determined that Census Tract 400 would be an appropriate controlled neighborhood for this evaluation project.
I have a question.
Yes.
I assume you looked at other tracks before you got to track number 400.
Absolutely. And so
And this was the closest, perhaps.
That's right, yes, ma'am. So we used, well, not me, another colleague used a risk terrain modeling software that looked at the entire city, broke it down by tracks, and then as well as police beats, and that's how we determined that track. Oops. Oh, okay, impact evaluation. So now we're going to go just briefly into some of the key findings so far from the evaluation track. Again, our focus is looking at the short-term, intermediate, and long-term outcomes. The figures that we're getting ready to present on now, they were created with data provided by Winston-Salem Police Department. And we used incident rates reports for these figures as well.
I'm happy to take over. So again, I am Dr. Marika Visser, and I've been working with the Winston-Salem Police Department data. It's big shout out to Winston-Salem Police Department for being so open and helpful for getting this data. So for this first figure, I think this is a big picture figure. We have the trends and incident rates with firearms. And so we decided to pull the data from 2018 all the way to October of 2024 for this mid-year report, because we wanted to get a really good sense of how these incident rates with firearms are trending together. So within this figure, we have the tannish line, which represents the comparison, and we have the green line, which represents that treatment or target area. Along the bottom x-axis, we have the year, and on the y-axis, we have the monthly average incident rate. There was two key time points that are on this figure, including the needs assessment, which was an early process for determining which of the target neighborhoods, or which neighborhood was going to be the target neighborhood. And then we have the intervention start. So if you take a look, around 2020, we start to see a decline in crime in both the treatment and comparison. And in fact, in around 2023, they start to converge together, pretty close. But we have something really exciting happening just after that intervention start, where they start to diverge again. So we have the brown line being relatively flat post-intervention, and the green line starting to go down. But realistically, this data only goes to October 2024 at this point, so we don't really know if this is going to be a sustained change. But it's a really exciting moment within the program to determine if this is having the impact that we're hoping it has. Next slide. This next figure is just to kind of dive deeper into the picture. So instead of looking at all violent crime rates, we're looking at homicides involving firearms. Again, we're looking from 2018 to 2024, and it's a side-by-side comparison with that comparison group as well as the treatment area. I think it's really interesting to note that typically the comparison area is reporting higher homicide rates, with the exception being that 2023 year, which is where we saw the convergence of the crime rates in the previous graph. And this year really 2023 really stands out as having a higher number of homicides in that treatment group. Luckily, mind you, 2024 goes all the way to October, so there's only 2 months missing there. It's looking very good that that's had that reduction, but it's still too early to say, and we don't quite have all the context yet. And then the final figure I wanted to walk you through is a bit different. So on the left side, we have the comparison, and on the right side, we have the treatment. Think of it as two different panels. So along the x-axis, we have each year, and each bar represents the total violent crimes with firearms within that year. However, the bar is a stacked bar, and it includes the different categories of crime types. So crimes were classified as assaults, firearm discharges, homicides, or robbery. And I think this is really nice to see the change over time. We see that decline for both the treatment and control from 2020. But that 2023 year still stands out as pretty interesting in our treatment, because despite having a lower total number of crimes compared to the comparison of 2023, there is a higher number of homicides and robberies. So this just shows it's really important that we continue to look at crime, not just at the aggregate overall level, but we dive in to get an idea of exactly what each component of crime is doing. But ultimately, at this point, we have some really exciting early findings, particularly in that first chart I showed, but we still need to get more data. We need to find out exactly what the impact of the program is.
I have a question for you, because those are actual numbers.
Yes.
Incidences, it's not a percent of a total, which
Right.
might give you a different picture because you've got more incidences in your control
Right.
than you have in the treatment. So you can't really say that I have less in the treatment because I did this, because you had more in your control to begin with. So I just wonder can we look at it in a way that gives us a clearer indication that it may be working?
Yeah, you're absolutely on the right track here. So this is all very descriptive for this mid-year report. This is data for that mid-year report. It's not the actual analysis yet.
Okay.
And part of that key is it's not enough data at the point for that mid-year because it only went up to October. We really didn't have enough, and we just need more data in order to make that analysis. There's just not enough context there yet.
But it looks like it's.
Yeah, it looks so promising. Do you mind going back to the first chart? Yeah, like in particular, I think this chart looks really promising and very exciting. But as if you look at the light graying, it's a bit hard to see on the screen, but you can see it's wider at that end because we're just a lot more uncertainty at that end of the data. And we just need to go longer out in order to know if that's going to be an actual difference.
All right, so some concluding quick thoughts centered around the Cure Violence Global Certification visit, expansion, and a little talk around sustainability. So over the last 2 years with Foresight Wins, there have been, of course, some challenges with just starting a brand new program and getting the word out there and recruiting and things of that nature. But there's also been successes, especially within the implementation of Cure Violence. And so one of the things that happened on October the 8th through October the 10th of 2024, the Cure Violence model team came down, the staff, to certify Foresight Wins. So that's a major milestone and a success. They determined that Foresight Wins has adopted the model with fidelity. So that is a major win for Foresight teams here. Also, expansion. So one of the things that came out of that certification meeting was that it was recommended that Foresight Wins expand their work outside of Police Beat 222. So again, that kind of reinforces what was said earlier around we're seeing crime here, but we're also seeing it outside of the Police Beat 222. So as this initial phase of the project ends, this may be a good time to go back, reassess, do a needs assessment to determine what police beats might need to be included as we're thinking about expansion, as long as, again, that expansion would allow for the fidelity of the model to still be adhered to. There will be opportunities to continue to expand that relationship building, which is very critical to a model like this. And lastly, when we're talking about sustainability, Foresight Win staff may want to create, as they're moving forward, a very detailed sustainability plan that identifies the strategies that will help them to continue to sustain the fidelity of the Cure Violence model. And then just one other thing that I wanted to highlight in terms of just where we're at with the impact evaluation, and it also really aligns nicely with what Dr. Visser just said, is that we really want to make it a point to say that most initiatives, especially ones that are just as collaborative and intensive as a Cure Violence model, it takes at least 3 years of implementation to really be able to clearly address those impact questions. There has been an overall reduction in violence in the state, not just in the city of Winston-Salem. And so for us to be able to parse out all of the factors that are contributing to something that is good, research just has indicated that it typically takes at least 3 years of implementation before we can start to really be able to dig more deeply into that. So that is also something that we're hoping for folks to consider. These are all of our reports that we're working on with our last report for year 2, which will be coming to you all July 2025. And so if there are any additional questions, we're happy to take a few.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for this presentation. So on the data you're showing for 2024, you said that you had only up until October of last year.
Right.
And so at what point so the July of this year, will the last 2 months be included in that report?
Yeah, so we are planning actually for the upcoming report to do a data pool in May and then do another one very quickly in June. And that would include all of the data up until May, and then again that extra month of June, so we'll have quite a lot more data
Oh,
than
okay.
just those extra 2 months.
Thank you.
And I'll add too, in addition to the police data, we also are collecting qualitative data too. So we're going to be conducting focus groups within the community. We have stakeholder interviews as well to hopefully add some additional context to the secondary data that we have access to with the police department.
I just want, thank you for the presentation, and just wanted to, as a friendly reminder, to have those risk factors for the participants. I really would like to see that. I know, Councilmember Scipio, you asked for that, but I would like to see that too. So they send it to you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think this, I remember when we started this initiative, and it's a concept that it's about social change and behavior change. And we can't have an expectation we're going to see something dramatic in a few months when people have been thinking and doing things that impact their own survival for years. So I'm very interested in seeing the 2-year report, but I wondered if you would be able to dive in the data, even if you collected it, that would say what other changes happened with the individuals. Did they get employment, or did they have a change in their residence? Is there some social changes that happened that could have influenced their behavior change? Because I think that's what we'll have to figure out. If there were a magic bullet that we could say, this, when you do this, we can guarantee that violence will go down. Because I think there are other things that are happening in our nation that may be triggering another interesting behavior change or reaction with people. And it would be great if we can anticipate that and start being a little more proactive. But thank you very much for this report. Looks like it's working, but everything costs money. How much does it take to keep this going and to expand it? Are we going to have more Terrells and Ms. Terrys that would be willing to step up with some of those who are experiencing trauma in their lives, and the only way they know how to survive is then to act out in a trauma way. So I just hope that we could get a little more detail over that, because I think that's what we're going to need.
Yes, thank you for those suggestions and the feedback. I agree. So we do have for this final round, we're drafting now a participant survey that are the 28 that are actually in the program. So we'll definitely make sure that we have a good list that's representative of some of the things that you just highlighted. And also even with the stakeholder interviews and focus groups, asking them questions about resources and also things like how maybe their attitude around safety has changed since the implementation of Cure Violence. And even when we're talking about resources with some of the partners that have already been established, highlighting some of the strengths in giving out those resources, but also some of the challenges, because just some of the things that we're learning now is that we have resources, but how accessible are those resources? Some of the other kinks that we're kind of learning as we're evaluating this program. But thank you so much for that
Thank you.
and the opportunity to present.
I want to also thank you, Terrell and your team, Ms. Terry and your team. You guys are very special. You know you're special. And we need more people of your abilities to go and help intervene with young people who've been forgotten and who believe that nobody cares. It's important that we allow our residents to let others know that we care about you. But everybody can't always give that hands-on touch that makes a difference. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
We'll go with the next item.
Item G2, Annual Report on the Fire Department's Behavioral Evaluation and Response Bear Team.
Here comes another wonderful program that we've decided to try. And so we're here, wonderful presentation on the Bear Team.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Chairwoman Scipio, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to come and present to you today. We're really excited. We're at our second year. So the report that I'm going to give you today is a good look at our annual report format for the last 2 years. And I have to do. In the last 2 years, we have been able to expand our team, and this is now the full picture of the 10 crisis counselors. We initially started out at 6, and now we've grown to 10. In addition to our growth, we have added 2 individuals that are Hispanics and able to reach out to the Hispanic community really tightly and do a lot of translations for our community, as we found that that was a good need for our service delivery. The Bear Team mission statement is to offer skills and compassionate intervention to individuals experiencing mental health and substance use crisis. We're committed to providing the citizens of Winston-Salem with the right level of care at the right time. The Bear Team provides compassionate wraparound and intervention services to individuals who are experiencing mental health and a substance use crisis. Collaborations with community providers is an essential part of the follow-up care we provide. Winston-Salem Fire Department is proud to increase mental health support to the citizens of Winston-Salem. We offer 24/7 alternative response to mental health and substance use indicated 911 calls. We have a benchmark of 30-minute max response time, and we are a team of 1 director and 10 crisis counselors. Our team is experienced, includes education in mental health counseling, social work, along with a combined of 102 years of experience. Our criteria for hiring was that they were really well-versed in the community resources and had a lot of experience in the field. So who calls the Bear Team? We initially started our program with the initiative with the 911 call center to dispatch all of our calls. And since in the last 2 years, we have expanded that to direct calls. We have made sure that we are accessible to all first responders, including the fire department, law enforcement, EMS. We access many different providers such as 988, 311 inquiries, business owners, and all members of the community to make sure that we are accessible with all the same service delivery of a 30-minute response time to anyone that calls our team. This slide kind of describes the service delivery and how we decide to make sure that we are providing the right level of care. If a call comes in through 911 or some of the other methods I just mentioned, and it is a nonviolent call, the Bear Team will respond on scene, provide de-escalation and connection to resources. In addition to just our response, we offer a follow-up service when that's needed. If an individual is calling us late at night and they need some connections that are more available during the morning, our team automatically is scheduled to go out, provide that transportation, eliminate any barriers that are needed for the follow-up, and continue to provide services until they're successfully linked. If a call comes in and it is a violent call, or just indicated that it might be a risk to our crisis counselors, we do include the police department, and they respond, and oftentimes they will request the Bear Team once they're on scene and it's evaluated to be safe. There are many different scenarios within that. Sometimes we all just go together, but the Bear Team crisis counselors will kind of hang back Other times, we'll start to collaborate and gather some more information as the call is coming to ensure that our crisis counselors would be in a safe situation once arriving. And this is a look at some of our data. Since May 15th, which is coming up in our 2-year anniversary, we have responded to 4,454 calls. And our average response time, although our goal is always 30 minutes, it's been about 12.5 minutes. Our team is located across the city, which is what's making that possible. And our expansion and the vehicles that we have ready available is also a big contributor to us being able to respond briefly. And our on-scene time at this time is 85.2 minutes. So that's the average time. A call can take 20 minutes or it can take 6 hours. The benefit of us being that mental health response team is that we don't have that urgency and that same service delivery to where we don't have other calls backing up because we have backup. Now that it's a complete team of 10, if a call comes in, and we always have somebody else taking those next calls that are coming in. So if somebody needs to stay for 6 hours or 5 hours or 3 hours, we have the time to really truly evaluate, make connections with family members, make all the connections, everything we can possibly do on the scene in real time. And then if a follow-up is needed and more is done, we can do that. So that has really been our ability to really fully do everything right in real time has been our biggest success with the clients. I have some graphs down here. I know it's a little small on the bottom there, but that kind of just indicates for our calls of service where we've been from 2023 to 2024, and then from 2024 to 2025. And like again, this started in May 15th.
Do you have any kind of insights as to why the calls for service have gone down this year versus when we first started?
Well, we're still in the year, and that's probably the part of it, is the time frame. So the 2023 to 2024 time frame, that would just been starting at that May 15th, so that was a part year, and then it kind of continued through the end of the year. And now we're at, the beginning of 2024 to 2025, and we're still working on that service. We are maintaining a good average of over 200 calls per month. It does range slightly seasonally, but it's pretty steady on that. So our average response time in minutes, and that has gone down, and that is due to our increased staffing, increased collaborations, our ability to really connect things and get our resources done quickly. And then our average on-scene time has also increased a little bit in the time, and that has a lot to do with that the team, and the collaborations are able to do a lot more since, the beginning. They've connected and made some stronger relationships with the community providers, which sometimes will increase our time on scene, but makes it more effective response. This is kind of a list of our community providers, and this is growing day by day. These are the ones that we connect with really strongly on a regular basis that have helped the citizens of our community to really thrive. The collaboration, a lot of times it's more than one that we link individuals to. So there isn't one that is, greater or more important than the other. It really depends on what the individual's needs. Again, we serve children to seniors, so it really depends on what the resources are needed and what's available to them at that time frame. I wanted to just kind of outline a few things that we've done with our outreach efforts. The on-scene collaborations, we have joined up with the homeless encampment project and making sure that we're going right in time with collaboration with law enforcement and the COC to address anybody that's in the encampments or maybe just out of place in the community and needing some services. And we're doing that on a regular basis. Before any other actions are being taken, we're just scheduling that every other week and going out and addressing different areas at different times that that's been identified as a need. We have been really successful with that and been able to engage several individuals with services through that method. We also do things over at the transit station to where we're kind of on scene and collaborating with some other partners with the county and doing outreach events on a regular basis throughout the year. And that really it varies based on what kind of event it is. But in our mind, like if we can help one or two individuals that would have not normally called us. So this is our efforts in trying to reach individuals that aren't going to call, that we're going to come to them. And participation in joint training events. One of the biggest challenges of having a team that's come from various backgrounds and different education is making sure that they're all kind of on the same page of evidence-based practices and what's currently trending within trauma-informed care and different funding avenues and what's available to citizens. And so we do a lot of joining with some of our partners. If any one of these agencies has like a great training available, we join in, we invite ourselves or invite them to ours, and we all kind of work together and getting a lot of, actually mostly free trainings together. One example is the team had gone over to Greensboro. We also collaborate with all of the other response teams in the state to kind of share ideas and best practices. And Greensboro offered a training in SISMs, and I was able to send the team there at no cost. And they were also allowed the team to meet other response teams around the state. So we are trying to make sure that we are in real time, evidence-based, maintaining our education on what's available in the changing trends. A couple of the other providers that are really important, Green Tree is our peer support resource in the county, and they have been growing a little bit and adding some beds, and we do a lot of collaboration with them more frequently to add just an additional follow-up service to the clients that we serve. And I think really all of them are very important. We have also started facilitating a weekly client briefing. When I first was assigned to this role, I kind of did a canvassing of what was going on with the providers and who was available and when people worked and what were some of the barriers, as our team would have to be addressing barriers. Some of the barriers were that a lot of the providers really didn't know all the full scope of what each other did, or maybe didn't have that capacity to communicate together, or maybe individuals were touching maybe 2 or 3 of those service providers, but each other didn't know about it. So what we've done is I created a call starting with Atrium Health, and because that tended to be the biggest provider with both the youth and the adults, and we have a weekly call discussing really services, discharges, what that kind of looks like for us in the community, and how the BEAR team could provide follow-up, and maybe like if an individual wasn't able to safely get to their next follow-up appointment, picking them up from the facility rather than waiting till they go home, making those connections right in real time is how it started. It's now grown to the county, mental health courts, Novant Health, and all other providers. We've grown it to them all meeting as a collaborated group every week to discuss different outcomes within service delivery. And as well as we do staff some individuals that have touched many of those systems with their permission to try to do some problem solving and think outside the box, get a little more creative with individuals that have really struggled with just those normal intake processes and accessing services. So that is probably one of the biggest accomplishments we've had as far as breaking down some of the barriers in the community, because we really want to make sure that when we're addressing scene or anybody in crisis, that we really know how to help them and who can help them and how it's going to, what that impact is going to be for them, because we do walk them through those processes. So the BEAR team is really, and will continue our efforts in growing our collaborations throughout the community. We're proud to say we got the Attorney General's Dogwood Award, and there's a little history on that. It was created in 2017 by the Attorney General, Josh Stein. The award is given in honor of North Carolinians who are dedicated to keeping people safe, healthy, and happy in their communities. And that's a picture of us getting the award. And what was mentioned in receiving that was us really thinking outside the box, being that 24/7, working when law enforcement works as we're supposed to be that alternative, and meeting the needs really directly and hands-on. So we're proud that we were able to receive that. And we have now done some marketing efforts. We've been working on this since we started, and we're getting, we've had some more, with the funding changes and some efforts with marketing. They've done a wonderful job of helping us. We've gotten a billboard, and this was posted outside of Atrium Health. And we have continued to attend many community events. Almost anytime we're invited, we go. All resource events, anything that's mental health related, anything that could, that we're going to be able to access the community and give them some information about our program and how it could be utilized. We were in the Greater Winston-Salem magazine. We got a 2-page article in there thanks to our marketing department. And also just that really anytime somebody is doing a training, we attend people's staff meetings. An example of that would be like federal probation. We go to their staff meetings, we talk to them about how they could utilize us instead of making some maybe more extreme resolutions. If an individual is suffering from mental health, they've been calling us, and we've been going to like a lot of the providers that are working with individuals in crisis, but may not know it or have that capacity to provide the resource. We've reached out to all that we know about, and we do attend meetings, keep continuing to train the community on how they can utilize us, what it takes to call us, when's appropriate to call us. And one of the pictures on the bottom, and that's us at a senior service event at one of the senior apartments, and they were doing a community resource event for seniors. And also within the Hispanic community, that was one of our newer efforts too. And all of our materials are in Spanish and English, and making sure that we're just really trying to tell all the citizens of Winston-Salem when it's appropriate to call us and how they can reach us, and that we're available. And I want to thank the dedication of our counselors, the city and the county partnerships, local stakeholders for all the hard work and the commitment to the BEAR team throughout the year. We have really received tremendous support from the community, and we couldn't serve the citizens in the capacity we do without it. So we do appreciate everything. And we'd like to extend the team's gratitude to the city council, city administration, and to the fire and police departments for their support in keeping the team and our citizens safe. And this is a picture of us when we were receiving the Byrne grant with Kathleen Manning. This is how you contact us. So the number, that 336-705-3668 is the 24-hour line. No matter how who you're calling from, that's the number you call, and it will always be answered. And also my information there, if there's anything that is needed, or if you know of any events or things like that that we should be attending that we haven't heard of yet. We always do appreciate getting invited to things and making sure that we can get the word out. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so we are going to continue our celebration. We are having a celebration for our 2-year anniversary at Fire Station 13, and we're going to continue to help individuals in the community be aware of mental health and how we can help.
What day is that celebration?
May 15th.
May 15th.
So it happened to be the same day we were able to start, we were able to schedule our 2-year anniversary.
Any questions? Okay. Sean?
Thank you for that report. It was very impressive and encouraging. One of the numbers you put out, 4,454, that is the initial call. That doesn't mean how many times you actually responded to someone. Is that correct?
Well, every call we respond out. So, yes.
That's just the initial. You might have had a follow-up or no?
That's right.
Okay,
That's
thank
right.
you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for this presentation. It's great. I have 2 questions. You had a slide about your calls either being nonviolent or violent. Do you have a percentage of what those, like, which ones are violent, which ones are nonviolent?
We don't have that, we don't hold that data at this point because it comes through the 911 Communication Center, and if we're not always getting that initial call sent through. We are actually changing a little bit of our documentation system so that we can collect different variations of data like that. So I'm hoping by next year we'll have a clearer picture of that. Some other examples are, we wanted to be identifying, are they calling for substance use, mental health, or domestic violence? We're going to be able to really distinguish a lot more of that in our new reporting system.
My second question, thank you, that was great. Second question is, so under the work that you do with our unhoused population, at what point should they call the BEAR team versus our street outreach coordinator? Like, what's the difference in like who they should reach out to, or the public should reach out to? Because we have a street outreach coordinator that works with the homeless. It's like where's the line for that different call?
So it really depends on what they're calling for. If they're in a crisis for mental health or substance use and they are needing those additional resources in that regard, they should call us. The housing resources, if they call us and they're needing housing, we actually coordinate with the housing providers. They actually can never make a wrong call because of the collaborations that we've made. We are connected so thick throughout the week that if they call any one of those providers, they're going to connect us to BEAR team, or we're going to connect them to the right providers in real time. I've set up kind of a concept with the providers to where I've taught them all how to add a call, like warm handoff. I don't want them hanging up and giving somebody my number. I ask them to do the add a call feature on your cell phone and put me on and say hello, and then they can, I can get that information. So I've been working on that strongly, but really everybody has, if they make a call anywhere for services, whether be for the wrong one, they will eventually get to us and to the right call.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you for a good report. One of the things that's always troubling to me is the kind of calls that I get and what the BEAR team, they didn't do anything or they couldn't do anything. And I think we need to continue to let the public know what we can do and what we can't do, particularly with those who are unhoused. If they're, and we do have this on my side of town a lot, they're sleeping in parking lots, and we send the police or the BEAR team will go and have a conversation. For the public, tell them what we can and cannot do with homeless.
Well, the first thing is that our services are voluntary. Oftentimes, so we'll get calls and we can offer them an array of services, and sometimes it's not immediate that the service provider is available. So we will make sure that if we encounter somebody that doesn't have a cell phone or those we try to make those appointments. It is a voluntary service. And oftentimes individuals we've encountered like on a Tuesday may refuse or say, no, I don't, they may not want to take the steps that it may take to follow through with some of those service deliveries at the time, But oftentimes, we're finding that they may call us by Friday and say, okay, I want to do some of the things. So there's many different scenarios of what that is. We go out to every call, no matter what, and try to assess and offer the services. Not everything is available in the evenings, and sometimes it is that follow-up. And we've had some individuals that really, they are asking us to pay for a hotel. This is a very common request, to pay for a hotel for them instead of encouraging them to go to like the homeless shelter services or maybe some of the other providers. The reason why we don't pay for a hotel is because it's not evidence-based to put somebody without income in a place where they can't eat. Our rule is that we do have to make sure that every individual that we serve has a bed and a meal. So if I put you in a hotel and you don't have any other funds or things like, how are you getting breakfast? Unless, because the hotels that are available there are not these, full service types of facilities. So it is not our common practice to place people in hotels, which is often what is requested, because of the concerning conditions. Now, what we have also done, we've had individuals that may not want the services that are in Winston, maybe they've had some experiences with them. We do offer individuals to go to High Point, Greensboro, Raleigh. If there is somebody, another place that is better suited for them, or maybe they have family in other locations, we do offer that. And sometimes they'll refuse us on that Tuesday and say, oh, no, I don't want to. And then by Friday, they're like, okay, I really should, return back to Greensboro and get connected. So it really, it's really difficult to kind of pinpoint, what is right and what is not, because the individual it's a voluntary service. We are going to do everything we can to encourage and provide follow-up and services. Calls that may not be appropriate for us is if somebody is just out in the street and they're not displaying. We can't just say, hey, somebody thinks you need mental health help. We do have, like, if they're just, or maybe they're being aggressive out in the community, or they're, just out and they have their bench and their whatever. We do have to be careful about just approaching people and saying somebody thinks you need some help, or, we do it really gently. But we can't, so we do kind of have a guidance of, you have to be with the individual you're calling about. So if your neighbor is concerning, or maybe had made some things, we would like you to go to your neighbors when we arrive and be with the individual that you're calling about, because we can't just knock on somebody's property, again, not knowing what's in the home, what's in there, and say, somebody just says you need some help today. We find some really gentle ways of working around that, to make sure that people are getting help. But those have been some scenarios that we've had where we're like, well, we'll drive by, see if they're outside. We can kind of like do that gentle thing, but we can't enter properties that we don't know are safe, that don't have weapons, that haven't been things. So there'll be oftentimes, if they're saying something seriously concerning about the individual, we do involve law enforcement in that and be like, we really do want to do a welfare check on this individual, but we're not at all sure what's going on in the home and whether it'd be safe for our crisis counselors. So there are times that we would choose to do that. We do try to get as creative as we can to address all the needs, but we can't, there is some limitations there. We'll do our best, but we do have to maintain our safety within the team and stay within our scope of services. We are mental health and substance use providers. We're not a service, we have some teens that run away. They may just be running away, but they may, if family indicates that they have some mental health things and need resources, that's different. So it's a case by case and a judgment call that we have to make each day. And we do our best in that. So.
Thank you so much. The other point is that we can't force people to take help. We can only offer it unless they're breaking the law.
Yeah.
Then we can do something direct. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. G3, please.
Item G3, citywide mid-year crime review.
Good afternoon, Chair Sepio, Vice Chair, members of the council. I'm Chris Diamond. I'm the Assistant Chief over the Executive Support Bureau at the Police Department, and I'm happy to present to you the look into 2025 for our mid-year stats so far. So as you can see, these are very pleasing stats for Chief Penn to report on. Year to date, we have 3 homicides, as opposed to we had 8 at this time last year. Of the 3 homicides, we have made arrests in 2 of those, and we are still working very diligently on the 3rd homicide from this year. The only real stat to look at here that's of an increase is larcenies, but on the next slide, I will be able to show you that we have actually taken a firm stance and been working very hard to clear these larcenies. So these are our Part 1 crimes cleared. So we have cleared 661 Part 1 crimes so far in 2025. So that is going to be your homicides, your burglaries, your larcenies, your aggravated assaults, which would include shootings and things of that nature, rapes, robberies. This is the total of all 661 crimes that we have done. This is the pie chart for the arrests. And what is interesting here is, as I showed you, we did have a small uptick in larcenies this year, but larceny has also been the #1 arrest that we've made so far in this year. So we have had a very concerted effort. We had seen an uptick in some auto break-ins and some store break-ins. We've made arrests in multiple of those cases. And this is just an opportunity for me again to reiterate to citizens to lock their car doors. One of these larceny incidents was a case where we had about 30 vehicles broken into in a neighborhood. All 30 were unlocked vehicles.
How can you break in something that's unlocked?
If you go into the vehicle.
Oh, but you stole something.
Yes, and then they stole something. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So these are our Part 2 crimes. We have, you've seen a total of 3,489 arrests for our Part 2 crimes this year. So that's going to be your drugs, your illegal drugs, your simple assaults, your DWIs, your weapons violations. So that would be like a firearm in the possession of a felon, things of that nature. So we have seen some very good statistics so far this year in our arrests for those stats. This is, as always, one of the largest complaints that we get are your traffic violations. And this is a breakdown of the number of citations that we have written per district. If you see District 3 and District 2 are a little higher than the others, but that's also where our major interstates are in those 2 districts. But you can also see that District 4, even though it is very small, it does generate a lot of traffic violations right there in consistency with the rest of them. Next, I'll move into communications. This is another area that we're very proud of. We are now down to 13 vacancies in communications, which is our lowest number in 3 years. And I'm also very happy to report that we actually have enough applicants that we are currently in the process of doing interviews with this week and next week that we may be able to fully staff communications for the first time in probably over 20 years. So we're well on our way to that, as well as all of our other professional staff as well. We are averaging about 4,600 calls for service per week. And our 911 calls, I'm very happy to report this one, is that we are at a 91.83% of the time that we receive a 911 call, we answer it within under 10 seconds. That is above the national average and above the national standard that they set of 90. Missing persons has been a primary focus of Chief Penn since he took in. We average over 878 cases of missing persons or a runaway throughout the course of the year. We're currently sitting at 232 for this year. That's about 74 cases per month. That has been a very, very tedious and it takes a lot of time to investigate a missing persons case. One of the biggest things that we have been able to do this year so far is we acquired our new police canine, our bloodhound, Bo. Bo was helped to be purchased with a grant through the Winston-Salem Police Foundation helped us with, which was great. Previously, we were having to utilize outside agencies and nonprofit groups to help us if we needed a bloodhound search. They are the most efficient way to be able to track someone who's walked away. These are like your Alzheimer's patients, things of that have walked away from a home, young children, things of that nature. So we anticipate that Bo will be a huge success for us. He'll be here. We're not having to wait on someone else to come in, so it gets us started that much faster on finding these high-risk missing persons. And then our recruiting and retention. So we are doing very well. Class 80 is currently seated. They'll be taking their state test next week and be graduating in July. We are going to start Class 81 on June the 23rd of this year, and we anticipate having a very, very large class. I don't want to get too excited about it, but we are seeing a huge number of applicants coming in that we have not seen before. We currently have 11 members for Class 81 that have already been hired. The number in conditional has actually gone up. I actually put 5 more into conditional this morning that I signed off on books, and the number in background now is actually right around 40 that we have in background for Class 81. So we are very, very excited about that. We recently had our Community Day event, which was publicized to the community to let them come in, see some of our cool toys, get a tour of the facilities, and then it was a recruiting event. We actually had a person come in last week that was super excited. They came to Community Day to show their kids the police vehicles, and then they ended up applying with us. So it was a very, very great event. And then we had our Employee Appreciation event about 2 weeks ago to recognize our Officer of the Year, Professional Staff Member of the Year, and others. And we had about 600 people from the agency that attended. And for a further update, I'll turn it over to Chief Gomez.
Good afternoon, Chair Scipio, Vice Chair, and committee members. My name is Manny Gomez. I'm an Assistant Chief of the Police Department. I'm over our Criminal Intelligence Bureau, which some of my responsibilities include the Real-Time Crime Center and anything UAV, so unmanned aerial vehicles, so otherwise known as drones. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that portion of what I'm responsible for. So our police department is very fortunate that our Real-Time Crime Center is internationally recognized. We've had delegations from Mexico come visit. As early as a couple weeks ago, we had the London Police Service as well as the Australian Police Service at the Real-Time Crime Center learning to come in to see what it is that we do and trying to take some of or incorporate some of the ways that we handle business back home in their respective areas where they live. As you can see a picture here, this is Attorney General for the state of North Carolina, Attorney General Jackson. He came by. What he was telling us was that everywhere he went throughout the state of North Carolina, he would repeatedly hear that Winston-Salem had the best real-time crime center in North Carolina. So he said he wanted to come to Winston-Salem to view it for himself to see what all the fuss was about. He came, he was very pleased. In his press conference, he told the news media that he would hope that other municipalities would basically incorporate a real-time crime center model and fashion it after the Winston-Salem model. So we're pretty proud of the success that we have. And that's obviously, you saw Chief Penn and the rest of the staff from the Real-Time Crime Center in the back taking a photo opportunity with the Attorney General. In this next slide, just to kind of give you some context from the beginning of this fiscal year, from July 1st until present time, the Real-Time Crime Center has assisted with 1,498 cases, which vary the gamut from an armed robbery to a homicide to a missing person. Real quick, there's a few examples up here that we can discuss. So the armed robbery, that was January 21st of 2025. It was a roadway in robbery. Within, I believe, 47 minutes, we had one person in custody using the technologies and the cameras. And that's both integrated and camera assets that the city of Winston-Salem owns. That big box, the missing person, that was highlighted by our local news media. Essentially, we had I believe, a 10-year-old boy that was diagnosed with autism. He left in the middle of the night. His mother called the police department. Nearly 2 hours later, we found that child downtown. What's interesting about that is that the mom believed that the child was within their neighborhood. He was 10 miles away from the neighborhood. We found him downtown. There is no we here. The folks that work the Real-Time Crime Center deserve all the credit. They started scouring all the technologies, both cameras that are owned by the city and integrated cameras by the community, and that's why we were able to locate the child in such a quick turnaround with him being 10 miles away from the house. So that kind of gives you an operational picture of what the Real-Time Crime Center does. Drones is first responder, and drones or a patrol-led drone operation. You see an example up there. Just to give you some context, from this beginning of this fiscal year, we had 385 deployments, and the example there is of a robbery of a person. Essentially, this was a pizza delivery driver that got robbed at his destination when he was going to deliver the food that was ordered. called the police department, we responded, we were able to deploy the drone out there. Had it not been for those technologies that we use that are within the drones, we would have never located these two suspects. Maybe down the road we would have, but essentially a 25-minute from the time of call to the time of arrest of these two offenders is incredible for us, as opposed to days and potentially even months. So that's a big thing for us. Speaking of drones, so when it comes to drones, the police department has been involved in or concerned with what's going on nationally and even at the state level. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the chatter involving specifically Chinese-made drones, that type of technology, and how that affects our national defense here in the U.S. So we're happy to report that the police department is in the process of transitioning from a Chinese drone-made drone fleet to an American-made fleet. We are taking advantage of some programs that are out there through some of our current providers that provide us with the technologies to fly our current systems, trading in some old drones, and become an NDAA compliant so that we can make sure that we're compliant with what the U.S. government wants, federal government, as well as state. There's some legislation out there that's going to prohibit essentially municipalities from using funds specifically for these type of drones. So we're happy that we're moving in this direction. And that concludes our presentation. If you guys have any questions of us, we're here to answer them.
It's always good to have good reports that people are behaving appropriately so that it makes your work a little lighter. But I also want to say that it's glad that we have the tools to intervene if you misbehave. And it's real cool technology. And I want to say that I'm happy that I voted for the expenditures for the real-time crime center and the drones and everything. So, yes, well, you weren't here then, but we take full credit for all that success. And it is amazing. I think people need to know and that we have one of the best police departments in the state, as well as the best fire department. I'm not biased. Fireman, I'm not biased. Got you. But public safety, you guys take it sincerely to heart. And I thank you for that and the dedication that you show our community with your excellence. I think we have some of the best professionals anywhere you stack up. And that's why I love it. I love my fire and police because you do an excellent job. Any questions for the police department? Okay, let's go.
Thank you, Chair. So I know last year there was an uptick in rape cases that was mentioned at a previous thing I was an event I was at, and I just want to see. I know that 0.9% of those are cleared this year. But can you speak on what percentages there are this year? Is there an increase or a decrease?
Absolutely. Knew you were going to ask that question, so we have the statistics here for you. So thus far, this will be through May the 11th. There have been 25 reported rapes, which is a 39% decrease from this same.
35?
39% decrease from this time last year. And then I know that you had also had some questions about adult domestic violence related cases. And we have seen a 10.2% decrease from the same time frame, which would be January 1st through May 11th of 2025.
Can you tell me the number of domestic violence one more time?
The decreased number is 10.2%.
And was there a general number?
1,086 cases.
Any other questions? Yes.
Still two. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Could you all tell me, or maybe Assistant Chief Gomez, how many folks are in the real-time crime center that staff that? And if you said it, I may have missed it.
Yeah, so we are operational right now with 9 combination of sworn and non-sworn personnel, so professional staff. We have a variation of analysts as well as a sergeant and a lieutenant that house or that man the real-time crime center.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions on that report? If not, we'll go to the last item. Thank you.
Item G4, ordinance amendment to Chapter 74, Article 14, Section 74-514 of the Winston-Salem City Code to to allow Winston-Salem Police Department personnel to operate golf carts on public streets, roads, and highways within the city of Winston-Salem.
Good afternoon, Chair Scipio and City Council members. My name is Jason Gates. I'm the District 4, Patrol District 4 Captain, and I'm here to talk to you today about us implementing golf cart patrols in our downtown districts. This whole initiative was developed or mentioned to us, by us I mean command staff, by one of our sergeants in patrol. And you know, we always encourage our folks to bring solutions with problems. And our guys and girls out on patrol, detectives throughout the agency, our staff in general, never disappoint. And this is just credit to them, seeing a problem and coming up with a potential solution. So I want to give them full credit for having the idea. So the purpose of having golf cart patrols downtown, we feel like it would provide a more personal experience for our residents, business owners, and visitors in our downtown communities, similar to our bike patrols that we already have. It would offer officers an additional mode of conveyance for improved visibility and a broader effort to enhance public safety in our downtown. We also think it may foster some more interest in our officers coming downtown to work our augmentation opportunities. We have a pretty good response right now, but you know, I would like to have every single spot filled if we could possibly do that, and this may help. The carts would allow officers to more easily patrol alleyways and parking decks, other areas that with limited access. And we also feel like these golf carts will aid in the identification, apprehension of vandalism and breaking and entering offenders. So when we were working on this project, we reached out to some of our partners throughout the state. One was the Asheville Police Department. They have implemented a similar program with golf carts and UTVs that patrol their downtown communities and other targeted areas. And they said the biggest benefit for them was just community engagement. I mean, it helps with all the other stuff, but they were very pleased with the response from the community. And then the Greensboro Police Foundation purchased GPD and what they call an urban response vehicle back in 2020. It's one of the UTVs. You've probably seen them out and about, and they use them for special events and search operations and things of that nature. So there is a precedent within our state, other agencies doing this kind of a program. So we come for you today to make sure that if this is all approved and we implement it, that we're within the law. So currently, under city ordinance subsection 1, it talks about mandates that golf carts in the central business district and central industrial business district may be used for vehicles for hire only. There's really nothing in there talking about any other use, police department use or otherwise. You guys and you ladies and gentlemen here, council members, have the authority to do that under general statute to make it where we can do this legally. So that kind of goes over the whole reason for this presentation today. In order to be compliant with the law, we're asking that you consider an amendment to the ordinance, Chapter 74, Article 14, Section 75-14, to allow us to use them for law enforcement purposes, public safety duties, and other official business related to special events held within our city. And there's what the proposed amendment looks like. It'd be subsection 5, the bold part down at the bottom. And then finally, you know, through this process, reached out to Winston-Salem Risk Manager Julie Carter just to make sure that we wouldn't miss anything with liability. And as long as we follow our policy, which we've developed, we're just waiting to implement it pending the outcome of today's presentation. And we're going to implement a safety program to make sure every officer, every employee who were to operate these things does so safely and within our policy. So, is there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. How many of the carts would you all need?
Well, we already, I should have covered that on the beginning, I apologize. We already have two, and that was part of the beauty of what Sergeant Perkins presented to me, was that we already have two golf carts already assigned to our Special Operations Division. We've had them for, best I can tell, about 10 years, but they're underutilized. You know, they would bring them out for special events and things. And he was the one to connect the dots and say, hey, why don't we use them for downtown operations? So there would be no expense on that end. And some of the earlier slides, it actually had a picture of one of them.
I saw it.
And it's marked up, it's got, you know, lights, the blue and red lights, got turn signals. I mean, they're very nice carts, they're like new.
I know that park rangers has used those for like that.
Yes, ma'am, they use the utility vehicles, the gas-powered ones, they go significantly faster. These are under 20 miles an hour. So, yeah, but they do have a couple of the UTVs.
No, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's kind of hard for me to tell. I know there's the siren or the police lights, so they're actually like headlights and taillights on these
Yes, sir.
things. Oh, so you're asking to operate these 24 hours a day?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Committee members, this is something we have to vote on because it's changing the ordinance. So we need to have a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please vote.
It's not popular.
Aye. I second it, yes.
Do we need to do verbal? No. Yours? Yeah. So it's approved, thank you, and this will go to council. Thank you. For the good of cause, anybody have any closing remarks? Otherwise, we did our job today. No? All right.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Second, so moved, so all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.